Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unraveling a deeply unsettling story that completely haunted the Wiregrass region of Alabama for 2 whole decades. We're talking about the tragic 1999 Wiregrass murders, where 2 bright 17-year-old girls, J.B. Beasley and Tracy Hallett, seemingly vanished into the night. For 20 years, you guys, this trail was ice cold. But then, a truly revolutionary DNA technique changed everything. In This Explainer, we're going to walk through the timeline of that fateful night, the frustrating decades of dead ends, and exactly how modern forensic science finally caught a killer who had been hiding in plain sight the entire time.
Okay, let's dive into this. To really understand the shock of this case, you have to understand the setting. Picture this, the summer of 1999 in Dothan, Alabama. It was an idyllic, booming, peaceful era. Backyard parties, late-night drives, that was just the norm for teenagers back then. There wasn't this overwhelming sense of danger. JB was a cheerleader and an honor student just about to celebrate her 17th birthday. And Tracy was her inseparable best friend. But their innocent night out ended with Tracy's final, absolutely devastating phone call to her mom. "Mom, I love you. Be home soon." Sadly, they never made it.
Part 1. The Disappearance in 1999. A Wrong Turn on a Birthday Night.
You know what? The sheer mundanity of the events leading up to this tragedy makes it all the more chilling. Let's look at the timeline. At 10:05 p.m., JB and Tracy leave Dothan heading to a party just 10 miles north. But somewhere along the way, they make a wrong turn. They end up over 20 miles in the wrong direction, landing in the town of Ozark. By 11:30 p.m., they pull into the Big Little Convenience Store. An eyewitness there, Marilyn Merritt, sees them and gives them super clear directions back to the highway. She notes they look neat, clean, and basically just like 2 kids worried about missing their curfew. At 11:35 p.m., Tracy uses the payphone to call her mom. Merritt watches their black Mazda pull out, turn exactly as instructed, and then just disappear into the darkness.
Part 2. A brutal discovery. The abandoned Mazda on Herring Avenue.
The very next morning, JB's black Mazda is found parked on Herring Avenue in Ozark, less than a mile from that payphone, but absolutely nothing added up to this being just a simple abandoned car. First off, the vehicle was completely covered in mud, even though it was spotless the night before. The driver's side window was rolled down a few inches, and the doors were totally unlocked. And the most glaring detail? The girls' wallets, cash, jewelry, and credit cards were sitting completely untouched right there inside the car. So robbery was instantly ruled out. The only thing missing was JB's keychain.
So the crucial point here is what happens next. The car sat there for 6 hours before a Dothan investigator realized the trunk could actually be popped from a lever inside the cabin. At 2 p.m., he opens it. The 2 girls were inside. Both had suffered single 9mm gunshot wounds to the head. They were fully clothed, but the forensic evidence told a terrifying story. Tracy had briars stuck to her pants, and both girls had wet pant legs up to their knees and muddy shoes. This proved they hadn't been killed by the side of the road. They'd been marched at gunpoint through a damp, bushy area, murdered somewhere else entirely, and then dumped in the trunk of their own car.
Part 3. 2 decades of silence, dead ends, and a community in shock. This is where the investigation quickly turns into an incredibly frustrating cold case. On the one hand, investigators had gold, right? Concrete biological evidence. They had an unidentified semen sample found on JB and a palm print on the trunk. They literally had the killer's DNA. But on the other hand, they were just plagued by disastrous false leads. Get this, a local man named Johnny William Barentine walks into the station and fabricates 6 completely different stories, just hoping to claim a reward. Police wasted months clearing him. They even flew out to Michigan and Mississippi chasing down other suspects, but none of the DNA matched.
20 long years. That is how long that critical semen sample sat perfectly preserved yet utterly useless in an Alabama state crime lab. And the reason why is simple, but honestly, it's terrifying. You see, the traditional criminal database, CODIS, only contains DNA from people who have actually been arrested. This killer, he had absolutely no criminal record. Because he'd never been caught for anything else, he was completely invisible to the system.
Part 4. The genetic genealogy breakthrough. A new investigative technique changes everything.
Now, what's really interesting here is the technique that finally cracked this case wide open: genetic genealogy. It completely bypasses traditional criminal databases. Instead, investigators take the killer's crime scene DNA and upload it to public ancestry databases, like GED Match. These are places where everyday people voluntarily upload their DNA just to find distant family members. So you aren't looking for the killer's exact profile, you're looking for their 3rd or 4th cousins. It's a real game changer.
Let's break down exactly how this builds into an actual investigation. Step 1.
Parabon Nanolabs took that 1999 DNA and ran it through GED Match. Step 2, they actually found distant matching family profiles right there in Alabama. And step 3, this is where the real detective work happens. Genealogists built sprawling family trees backward, starting from those distant cousins. They narrowed down the branches by age, location, and gender, until the tree points directly to a single, previously unsuspected individual. It's like putting together a giant puzzle.
And the name that tree pointed to? It shocked the entire community. Coley McCraney, a 45-year-old, highly respected local pastor, a family man, and a long-hauled truck driver. He had absolutely zero criminal record. He was a totally familiar face in the community, just living a normal life for decades while the mothers of his victims suffered. When police approached him in 2019 under the guise of simply ruling out locals, his wife Jeanette actually urged him to provide a DNA swab to clear his name. He did it willingly, completely unaware that the trap had already snapped shut around him. His DNA was a perfect, indisputable match.
Part 5. Arrest and Trial. Facing justice in Dale County, 24 years later.
Now, the most glaring aspect of McCraney's defense was his desperate, wild inconsistency. When he was first arrested in 2019, he claimed total ignorance. He said he'd never met the girls and wasn't even in the town of Ozark that night. But fast forward to his 2023 trial, faced with the undeniable fact of his own DNA on the victim, and he changes his story entirely. He actually takes the stand and claims his truck broke down, these two teenage girls randomly gave him a ride, and he had a secret, consensual encounter with JB before they dropped him off. No way, right?
And this brilliantly illustrates how the prosecution, led by Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall, completely dismantled that fabricated alibi. They brought eyewitness Marilyn Merritt to the stand, and she told the jury exactly what she saw that night. These girls were not out looking for some secret rendezvous with a truck driver. They were lost, they were anxious, and they were actively asking for directions just to get back home. Tracy's panicked phone call to her mother absolutely confirmed it.
But perhaps the most heartbreaking and powerful moment of the entire trial came from the defense's own home. Jeanette McCraney, the very wife who had unknowingly encouraged him to give his DNA to the police because she trusted him completely, took the stand. She testified that on the night of July 31, 1999, her husband was inexplicably absent from their home for a period of time he could never explain. It was the ultimate betrayal, laid bare right there for the jury. Unsurprisingly, the jury deliberated swiftly. On April 26, 2023, the verdict was delivered. He was found guilty on all 4 counts of capital murder, including murder committed during a rape and murder involving the use of the victim's vehicle. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now, Attorney General Marshall rightly acknowledged that no verdict brings complete closure, but it finally answered the agonizing questions that had tortured these victims' families for almost a quarter of a century.
Part 6. Practical Safety Lessons, Actionable Takeaways from a 20-Year Tragedy.
Let's move to how this builds a safer routine for you and your loved ones today. We can pull some very real modern safety takeaways from this. First, always share specific itineraries. Don't just say, "Hey, I'm going out." Name the host, the exact location, and your expected return time. Second, leverage the tech we have now. Use real-time smartphone location sharing with a trusted family member. Third, and this is absolutely crucial based on this case, if you get lost at night in an unfamiliar area, stay in your locked car and call for help. Do not get out to ask strangers for directions. And finally, always trust your instincts. If a situation feels even slightly off, drive away or call 911 immediately.
This explainer leaves us with a pretty haunting realization, doesn't it? Coley McCraney was a pastor, a father, a friendly neighbor. The scary truth is, dangerous people rarely look like monsters. They blend right into our communities, sometimes for decades, just hiding in plain sight. Vigilance isn't paranoia, it's a necessary tool for survival. So I want to ask you, what steps will you take today to stay vigilant? Please, share these lessons with your loved ones, because understanding these risks is the very first step to making sure everyone gets home safely. Thanks so much for learning with us today, and stay safe out there.